program with an invocation from Sarah Fry, song and pledge from Kiden Creek Bomb, and new member introduction from past president Chuck Wilson.
Please pray with me. Dear God, thank you for this fellowship as we gather as Rotarians in service to our community and to one another. Please remind us in this month of December, in this season of giving and of extraordinary acts of kindness, that often the most precious gift we can give to those we love is our time. And help us, Lord, in every moment of every day in December to have the clarity of thought and peace of mind to remember that in January, when all the holiday dust settles and the party guests go home, what matters most is faith, family, and friends. Bless this food that it may nourish our bodies, and bless the hands that made it. We offer you thanks and praise now and always. And all God's people said, amen.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to do something a little bit different today, something lighthearted and seasonal. I think we should have a slide master. Little Frosty the Snowman is supposed to be coming up. There we go. All right, so have fun with this. Here we go. Frosty the Snowman, it's a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how he came to life one day. There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found. For when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around. Oh, Frosty the Snowman was alive as he could be. And the children say he could laugh and play just the same as you and me. Here's the best part. Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, look at Frosty go. What sound do snowmen make? Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, over the hills of snow. Good job. That was a good Frosty. Okay, now join me in the pledge, please. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did you want me to come up, Madam President? Madam President, did you want me to come up? Okay, I want to make sure. Well, you probably did. I wasn't paying attention. Now, when Muzon Biggs was president, he wouldn't say a word until you got quiet. Right, Muzon? I remember that. I am proud to be a member of the Rotary Club of Tulsa Membership Committee. It is headed up by Mike Rogers, Paul Bowman, who is the Director of Membership, and what a great, great job they have done this year. Would you join me in thanking Paul and his group for that? Thank you. Karen Keith is a rather busy woman, but she never fails to do her Rotary work, and she never fails to tell others about Rotary. As a result, I'm introducing you today to Cray Beaumont Flynn, who is a highly skilled design professional with over 35 years of experience in the architectural and real estate development industry. He has designed numerous prestigious projects in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, India, China, Europe, and the U.S. Cray held key positions at two large-scale firms before founding his own firm. He is currently the COO and principal of a Tulsa-based architectural design firm in conjunction with a real estate development firm. Cray completed his design training with a Master of Architecture and Interior Design from the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris and the Institute of Design in Rome. Born in the U.S. and raised in South Africa and Europe, Cray received his early education in Cape Town, Switzerland, and Europe. This is making me feel a little intimidated. As an active community volunteer, he has served on boards of multiple governmental and nonprofit organizations. He particularly enjoys sharing his creative side with at-risk youth while giving back to the community. I think he'll fit right in with Rotary. If this were not enough, little known fact, he knows 7 languages and speaks 4 fluently. Will you please stand and welcome Cray to Rotary?
Welcome, Cray. We're very excited to have you in the club, and we look forward to getting to know you more in the coming months. As you all know, I have been talking incessantly this year about being people of action and agents of change. And it comes to no surprise to be able to introduce a few of your members that are out and about changing the world, and everyone else is noticing and even getting accolades for it. First of all, I want to make sure that you all know that Karen Keith and Eric Colin both were recipients of the Tulsa World as Tulsans of the Year. We all know the amazing work that Karen has done in every area, but especially this year with all the flooding and everything, just the amazing job that she did. And then, of course, Eric, and we get to highlight him more today and see the amazing work he's doing. And as if that is not enough, our members are also being recognized on a national level, and we are lucky to have with us today Jesse Guardiola, who has to travel all the time. So, Jesse, where'd you go? You didn't run off on me. There you are. Yeah. So recently on a national scale, he was recognized and received the Attorney General Award for Distinguished Service in Policing. Amazing job. So new members and guests, you are among people who don't just give lip service to changing the world, they are out changing the world. We're so glad to have you all here today. On to a few announcements. Special thanks to this week's meeting sponsors, Doug Padgett with Pendergraft Systems, Inc., and Chuck Wilson with Associated Mortgage Corporation. We appreciate you guys. We have a couple of committee meetings. We are a busy club, and we have a lot of committees, and so there's always something going on. After the program today, you'll head upstairs to room 232 if you're in the Club Foundation Grants Committee, and room 233 if you're in the Above and Beyond Committee. Those are both exciting committees to be part of. And in upcoming programs, next week we will have Dr. Casey Schrum, the president of the OSU College of Osteopathic Medicine, and she is the youngest and first woman to serve as dean of a medical school anywhere in our state. Then, on March 15th of this year, Governor Stitt named her the Secretary of Science and Innovation. As if that's not enough, just this recent October, the Journal-Record of Oklahoma named her Woman of the Year. So here is a powerhouse who not that many years ago was pitching for the Coweta Lady Tiger softball team and showing livestock with the Coweta FFA, and now is working hand in hand with our governor. So I think she would make a great Rotarian now that I think of it, all those accolades. So that will be next week. Be sure to turn out in full force for that. It'll be another great and inspiring program. And we also have a special surprise for you next week. So we would like to make this a family day. As you know, on December 25th, we will not have Rotary, obviously, on that Wednesday. So we wanted to make this our holiday tradition, and that is to bring your family in. You know, we all know and love Rotary, and we get to be here every week and see what is going on in our community, but we would love to share that with our families. So would you please bring your spouses, your significant others, your children, your grandchildren, and let's have a family meeting next week. And we will also make it worth your kids' whiles, the younger ones, to come out, because we will have Mr. and Mrs. Claus, Santa Claus, so they'll be able to have a photo op with you and your kids or your grandkids, and don't worry about them if, they act up in the meeting or anything like that. We're used to it, we all go to church and we hear kids going crazy in the back or whatever. So it'll be fun. It'll just be a fun meeting where we can make sure and involve our family right before the holidays. And then, of course, on December 25th, no meeting. All right, on to other announcements. Interim Healthcare is here today giving flu shots in the lobby, and the cost is $30. They will be here till 1:30 if you want to go see them afterwards. And Thirsty Thursday is tomorrow. It will be at McGill South from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Those have really been a fun time of socializing and just getting out and seeing your fellow Rotarians. There's no program, there's no schedule, just come out and have a good time. And also, we made an announcement last week that we're going to have to retract a little bit. Our annual business visitation day that was scheduled for January 29th had to be moved to later in the year just due to some program scheduling conflict. So the new date will be March 4th. Please see Barbara Kogerman if your business is interested in hosting our Rotarians to your place of business for that day, and we'll have more information coming up about that. Sorry for that change, but I think it gives you ample time to make those changes. And we also have several side mic announcements, so let's start off with Tricia Kirkstra with a Scry announcement.
Thank you, President Becky. Hi, everybody. I have my list. I'm checking it twice. I have 2 announcements. The first one is that we are looking for our 3rd host family for Andy, who's our exchange student from Taiwan. He goes to Bishop Kelly. He's currently living with Jamie and Jason George, fantastic host family. I don't know if he's here or not today. Are you? No, I don't see. Okay, anyway. So we need the 3rd host family to sign up because there's a lot of paperwork we do beforehand, and that's going to be from about spring break to June. And I can guarantee you, if you choose to host this young man in your home, you will fall in love with him. He's awesome. I just love him. So see me or Duff Weddle or Jerry Stamper if you're interested in doing that. Number 2, January 10th is the annual Scry weekend. Scry stands for South Central Rotary Youth Exchange. So if you're Nebraska, Texas, whatever, a Rotary Club that does youth exchange, you come here that weekend for some training that we all have to go through. So what they do, since the Rotarians are coming, they bring the students that they're hosting. So we'll have 200 students in town that weekend, high school students from a bunch of countries. So our club does the coordinating for we host these students on Friday night. So sign up. I have a list of what we've already started. We'll call you from the Marriott when they're ready to be picked up Friday afternoon, and then you just entertain them that night, make a big pot of chili, do whatever you want to do. Just give them your fantastic hospitality. It's a real opportunity to do some true citizen diplomacy. And it also gives you a really cool opportunity not just to hear about the students and their families and their countries, but where they live in America. Because we'll have kids like from Taiwan that are in Nebraska or they're in San Antonio or something. You get to hear about their whole experience. And then you bring them back to the hotel at 1:30, and then you're done. So there should be sign-ups on the table. If they're not there, that's also in the Monday Minute, and you can email me or Jerry Stamper for more information. Thank you very much.
Brian Bovard.
Well, President Becky, Rotarians are people of action, but we're very generous and we're often very humble with our volunteer activities. So your People of Action Committee that's headed up by Jan Lobb and Lane Dolly under the auspices of Lynette Potter, what we did is we came up with a fantastic t-shirt design, and we're pre-selling them right after the meeting today. But it's one of those things where, especially when I'm ringing the bell with Salvation Army or you're doing the shop with a cop, you find out what your fellow Rotarians are doing on the side, quietly. And we're trying to bring a little more visibility to what Rotary and Rotary International does, both locally and also globally whenever you travel. So we have come up with a shirt design that we're very excited about, and at your next volunteer activity, we would love for you to buy the shirt, wear the shirt, and let people really know what Rotary does. But we also thank you very much for the many quiet and subtle hard work that you do to help our community. And I get to announce something. Also, our first activity on December 18th, and Daniel Gomez will get us much more information on this, but we will be hosting a volunteer bag stuffing at our adoptive school, Celia Clinton. It'll be in the morning. You'll be done in time to come back here for your Rotary lunch on the 18th and for our Christmas program. But we would love for you to pre-order these shirts today. I presume they went up on the big screen at some point. Did they? Good, thank you. You'll see our poster up outside. But really, we are people of action. And when you're out helping the community, we'd love for you to also be able to invite people to ask what Rotary is about by wearing a shirt and again, we can't thank you enough for all the work you do. Just doing a little promotion of it. Thank you, President Becky.
Thanks, Brian. And Chuck Wilson with a special foundation presentation.
Bob Spears is one of our most beloved members. Unfortunately, he's towards the end of his life, cannot be here today, but we're happy to have his son, Richard, who is going to make a presentation.
My father does send his greetings. His days on this earth are probably measured in the single digits. He doesn't respond much anymore, but he wanted to let you know that your motto of service above self is real, and it's right, and it's remarkable. A thing you probably don't know about my father is that in his early part of his career, he helped convert the military-industrial complexes of most of the countries of Europe into manufacturers of oilfield service equipment. This is Norway and France and, well, all the languages that your new member speak. It was common for me to, as a teenager, to wander into our kitchen and find Sir Henry Whittle, the inventor of the jet engine, sitting having coffee with my mom, having flown in from Rolls-Royce in the UK. But my father's passion and hobby and motivation was actually found after retirement when he joined Rotary Club, and he and my mom found Celia Clinton School as a result of Rotary Club's work there. Mom and Dad loved that school so much that Dad, hold up your hand if you remember this, my father had Celia Clinton's school host my mother's funeral there 15 years ago. Were you there? Wow. They loved that school, and when you go see your statues downtown on the plaza, I'll be able to go see what my dad looked like for the rest of my life. But I have investment banking partners really all over the world, but up in Edmonton, Alberta, that would be Canada. He probably speaks Canadian as well. I have a partner company up there called Secura Partners, and Arun Secura and his team up there would like to make sure that Dad's legacy, my mother's legacy, continues at Celia Clinton School. And so in honor of my father, this week they have donated $1,000 to Tulsa's Rotary Club to advance Rotary's service above self at Celia Clinton School. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Richard, thank you so much. That speaks so highly of your father, but then also you and what he's instilled in you. And it's so neat to see the people in his community even recognizing that, and they're not even in our community. He's truly touching the world. That's amazing. Thank you. Our Rotarian of the day is Sharon Cosby. Sharon serves as founder and senior servant at In the Spirit Christian Church. In 2012, she founded Oklahoma Family Empowerment Center, a counseling and social justice center. Under her direction, OFEC offers many services, including services for the homeless, food pantry, at-risk youth programming, seniors, and parenting classes. She holds the designation of board-certified clinical chaplain with the National Association of Veteran Affairs Chaplains. She has also received awards and recognitions from the Oklahoma House of Representatives, State Senate, City of Tulsa Mayor's Office, Oklahoma Department of Corrections, and 100 Black Men, to name a few. Please welcome Sharon Cosby.
Thank you, President Becky. I've been given the esteemed pleasure to introduce to some and present to others our speaker for today, Eric Collin. He's a lifelong Tulsan, graduating from Northeastern State University with a degree in pre-law. After working 7 years as a conductor with the Union Pacific Railroad, Eric founded Collin and Associates, which he still owns and operates today. Eric's professional background includes more than 1,500 cases. He has an extensive experience as an investigator, a consultant to attorneys in jury trials in federal and state courts, plus in the military court-martial. He has been part of the legal teams that have prevailed in over 50 cases in court, including 20 jury trial victories. He founded Another Chance Justice Project, a nonprofit that assists in excessively sentenced women in Oklahoma with their commutations and life after prison. Over 120 women have gained their freedom. In addition, Eric has assisted 6 wrongfully convicted with their exonerations in the last 8 years. He is honored as one of Tulsans of the Year by the Tulsa World. Dateline will air an episode featuring Eric as his work to free Malcolm Scott, who's on our podium today, and his older brother, Corey Atkinson, in early 2020. Eric has been a volunteer at TARC, an organization devoted to providing opportunities to those with developmental disabilities, for over 19 years. He is a founding committee member of Oklahoma Honor Flights, a member of the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits, and now a proud member of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Rotarians and guests, would you please help me welcome Eric Collin to the podium?
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you, President Becky, and just such an honor and a pleasure to be able to deliver this very, very important subject matter and issue to my club, my Rotary Club, something I am very proud 1 year in, and I'm really, really glad I joined. So I want to get started with recognizing for the first time ever, all 6 of my exonerees are here in one place, which is very, very special to me, and I hope it is them too. It's like Thanksgiving right here, you know. So I would like to have you all stand one at a time as I call out your name, and stay standing if you don't mind. Betty Wolf, 7 years, in prison, exonerated in 2011. Michelle Murphy, 20 years and exonerated in 2014, excuse me. Malcolm Scott, 22 years, exonerated in 2016. DeMarco Carpenter, 22 years, exonerated in 2016. Perry Lott, 31 years, exonerated in 2018. And last but certainly not least, Corey Atchison, the older brother of Malcolm Scott, 28 years. He was released this past July 16th. 130 total years wrongfully imprisoned right there at table 3. Oklahoma can do better. We're doing better, and we're going to continue to do better. And not only am I and people like me, bringing the battle forward, I want to recognize Rhonda Bear. Rhonda, please stand. As truly, truly at the front of the point of the spear and the shield as we go through criminal justice reform. And you guys might not know, but there's actually a Rhonda Bear Day declared by Governor Stitt because of her work and her influence on Governor Stitt during his campaign to make criminal justice reform one of his top priorities. So Rhonda, thank you. So how did we get here? Since 1920, we have incarcerated upwards of 2.3 million people. That's where we are now. It starts with the war on drugs. Right there, if you see on that graph in 1971, you really start to see it climb. This graph is very informative. I know there's a lot going on there, so if you guys would like to know where I got that and what source, it is from the prisonpolicy.org, excuse me. But that breaks down every single case up through 2018 of individuals incarcerated all the way down to tribal prisoners and who's in jail and who's awaiting conviction, to include the category of crime. It's a very informative graph. I would encourage you guys to take a look at that and give you a little bit more information on what's going on here. So Oklahoma statistics, I'll let you guys read that for a second. I'd like to point out that the only 2 females exonerated are here with us today, by the way, Betty Wolf and Michelle Murphy. So what are we doing about this? Innocence organizations have been together, working together for about 30 years. Starting with, I think everybody here is familiar with the New York Innocence Project. They're really the flagship and got all of this going. I mean, they're, in my opinion, the founding fathers of criminal justice reform. But without governmental, non-governmental organizations like the Innocence Project, even Another Chance Justice Project, and everything in between, we might not have near the results and statistics we have of exonerees and excessively sentenced people commuted. So what can our government do about it? Conviction integrity units are, as you can read there, being formed more and more. There's 44, as you can see, and they have been part of, as you can see, 58 exonerations that these DA's office have done themselves. Brooklyn and Philadelphia are, again, Philadelphia is probably the flagship. Brooklyn is right in behind them. I think that DA, who's only been in for 3 years in Brooklyn and King County, New York, has exonerated 27 people on past cases. So as you can see, together, conviction integrity units and the innocence organizations are responsible for 99 of the 151 exonerations that we know occurred in 2018. This is really powerful to me. I don't want to get too political up here, but I feel like if we've executed one innocent person, that's too many. take a long, long look at that. It's estimated that we've killed 10 people that were innocent. And as you can see, 144 prisoners have been exonerated while they're awaiting their death by our government. Oklahoma does not have a conviction integrity unit anywhere. I would submit to the Tulsa County District Attorney's Office and the Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office, it's probably time to do that. 21 states have them, and it's growing quite a bit each year. It's growing at a pretty steady pace. I'm not sure at what pace, but if I recall looking at this a couple of years ago, I think there was around 10. So, all this hard work by the organizations, by conviction integrity units, by these individuals spending 130 years in a box, has bared some fruit this year. Most people wrongfully convicted were wrongfully convicted on ineffective witness testimony and witness identification, biased, and of course there's allegations and confirmation by courts all across the land of police tactics during interrogation. So now, as you can see, a law just went into effect November 1st, where all law enforcement agencies must adjust their policies and procedures on witness identification and use and audio record every interview of every suspect in a murder, manslaughter, or sexual assault case. So I know Malcolm, Corey, Perry, DeMarco, Michelle, and Betty, I'm sure all feel like at least something has come out of their wrongful incarceration. So in 2005, I opened my, if anybody read the Tulsan of the Year article, it's true. I had a great job at the railroad, some of the best benefits and security anybody could ask for, and I decided to take the leap to be a private investigator. Everybody thought I'd lost my damn mind. And boy, I questioned it that first year or two. I really did. It was scary. But I read how I got here is what I'm asked more than anything. How did you get here? What started you on this journey of wrongful convictions and excessive sentencing and all the above? And it's really simple. I read the book, The Innocent Man, John Grisham's only nonfiction, in 2006. And there's no other, well, I also read The Oklahoma Death Machine, written by Mark Furman, ironically, the detective from the O.J. Simpson case. But he did a very good job analyzing the issues of death penalty here in Oklahoma, especially as it pertains to Bob Macy, Joyce Gilchrist, and all that. I don't know if you guys know, Bob Macy's administration was ranked as the #2 deadliest DA's office in U.S. history. As it pertains to executions. So I decided to, with the assistance of my father, we did a lot of research, wanted to know if there was anything around regionally to Oklahoma that could assist in these types of situations, and there was not back then. So we decided we had the bright idea to start our own. Well, we created some pamphlets, mailed them in. I mailed 10 into each male prison in Oklahoma, and it was what an investigator can do for you in appeals and post-conviction relief. I mean, there's only so much a lawyer can do at the point of post-conviction. It really is up to a team of a lawyer and an investigator to make this work right. So I got letters from this gentleman right here and DeMarco, that gentleman right there, all within 3 or 4 days of each other, amongst a ton of others you can imagine. I read them both, and I thought that they had, like, sat down next to each other and copied each other's letters. That's how similar they were. And so I was pretty green and naive at the time, only being a year or two into my agency, and I asked some attorneys, like, you know, what's the deal? Is this possible? No, it's not. They have to be held in different prisons because they were tried together and they were convicted together. So it's DOC policy. So I was really intrigued, and not to mention their articulation and getting right to the point, both of them at the very caught my attention. And I will tell you, I worked with these guys and with other team members for 10 years to help free Malcolm and help free DeMarco. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Malcolm Scott.
Thank you, everybody. It is definitely an honor to be here at the Rotary Club. This is awesome. Just knowing that people are doing things here in Oklahoma to make it a better place for everybody. It is much appreciated, and I thank every single one of you. A special round of applause. I want to give one more for Eric. Eric Cullen, this guy gave me a second chance at life. I appreciate him so much. Well, just a little bit about me. I was 17 years old whenever this crime occurred, and whenever I was convicted and sentenced to life plus 170 years running consecutive. It was my first time offense, and of course, you know, it was bewildering. It was definitely a horrific experience, and I'm pretty sure it's something that will be a part of my life for as long as I am here. But the thing about it is, for me, you know, it was a long journey. We went through a whole lot, you know, and Eric was right there at the forefront for us. I mean, for a long time, we wrote letters to so many different, you know, attorneys, and, you know, we wrote to judges, and we, you know, we tried ourselves to work out, you know, the things in the law, you know, and a lot of the words in the law can be a little difficult to understand, especially for a young kid who never studied law at all. All I knew is that, you know, I was trying to find some way, you know, to prove my innocence and show that, you know, they got the wrong guy. So it was very difficult in the beginning for us, and we went through a lot. We went through a lot of ups and downs and a lot of denials of those appeals. And I tell you that every time we got denied for an appeal, it felt like I was right in front of the trial getting convicted all over again. And so it was very, very tough. It was very difficult going through, you know, most of that 22 years that I was incarcerated. So for me, I had to hold on to every, you know, little piece of inspiration, every little piece of motivation that I received. And when Eric, you know, sent us, you know, I think it was a natural newsletter, I think that he had sent out to several people that were incarcerated, maybe needed assistance in investigation. And for me, you know, anytime I received anything like that, I wrote back immediately. You know, if I seen that it may be someone that might can help me, I wrote back immediately. And so I wrote back to Eric as well, and, you know, and he responded to us. And, you know, for me, that was a zest of hope. You know, I mean, just to get somebody to hear me, somebody to just listen a little bit, to maybe, you know, understand what we were going through and had the compassion and also willing to do the work to help us, you know, prove our innocence. So Eric joined that journey with us. You know, he came in and he joined full-fledged. And we told him, hey, Eric, you know, I don't have a lot of money. I got 12 brothers and sisters, you know, mother and father, and so we don't have a lot, and so we don't have a lot of money to pay you to do these things for us, but we really need your help. We really do. And Eric, you know, I don't know what made him do it. I mean, he's just a natural, I guess, his heart, you know, and he said, hey, man, I'm going to help you guys. You know, I feel like there was an injustice done, and I'm willing to help you. And for me, that assisted in my heart in giving me strength to want to keep fighting. Because it's like, if this guy here on the outside who really doesn't even know me is willing to step in and help me, give his own time, his own money to help me prove my innocence, then I got to give my all too. And so Eric joined us as we embarked on that fight for many more years. And it was pretty early, like 2005, I believe. And, you know, we didn't find our exoneration to 2016. So, you know, the fight was still early on at that time, but he stood right there with us every step of the way, you know, doing the investigations he could. And when we joined in with the Innocence Project finally, and all the evidence that he had and gathered together and presented it to the Innocence Project, man, it's like it kind of took off from there as well. But I tell you, just a lot of people think, you know, oh, wow, so the Innocence Project came in and everything, you know, they took the case on and it went that way and everything was good from there and you got free. But it wasn't like that. The Innocence Project didn't start the journey with us. Our journey actually started, you know, in 1994, and then when 1995 when we got convicted. Like, that's when the fight really began, you know, when the false conviction occurred. And all those years, we had to fight on our own to get through it. So I was blessed to have a strong family that stood behind me throughout it, and they believed in me. And we have a strong belief in God. Like my mother and father are very strong believers in God, and they instilled that in me. And I think that's what gave me that spirit, you know, of to fight for righteousness, to fight for that truth, and truly believe that one day the truth would be told and the world would know it. And I guarantee it wasn't easy, though, to hold on to that fight. And that faith was definitely tested through many years, you know, of incarceration while we were in there. But I am so thankful. I'm so thankful. My mother was one of the strongest instruments who stood there with me, and she told me, you know, a lot of times when I was going through those ups and downs inside the system and I was ready to let go and ready to give up, and she says to me, she says, son, don't let go of that faith. And I always remember, God helps those who help themselves. And if you're willing to fight and continue and believe that you're going to get that second chance in life and show that you are that man that deserves that second chance in life, that you're not the monster that the papers may have said or what they thought in that jury trial, show them. And I proceeded with my life once I listened to her and I understood that. And I said, man, it's time to make some real big changes for my life. And I decided at that point, it's time. And as I made those changes in my life and got back to who I truly am in spirit, my faith, my strong belief, you know, in God and strong belief in the education and myself as well, he gave me that strength. And things started to change for us at that point. People started to see, man, this guy is really trying to do some good things in his life. There might be more to this. And I tell you, I promise you, it's like God, you know, he came at that point and said, I'm going to show you a little bit now. And those instruments that he sent to me, Eric being one of them, you know, Innocence Project, you know, other, you know, people that were involved as well that started to come in, and I started to see, yeah, maybe this is what I should have been doing long ago. But I'm glad and I'm so thankful that I had people in my corner that helped me keep that faith and helped me keep that strength. And we fought all the way on through to 2016, May 9th is when we were exonerated. And finally, the judge said, these are free men. These are innocent men, and they are free to go. And that day is one day that I will never, ever, ever forget in my life. It was like so much had been lifted off my shoulders. So much had been lifted, and I looked at my mother, she was sitting out there in the audience, and she looked at me, and she said to me, whispering, we did it. He did it. And she looked up, and I knew exactly what she was saying. And at that point, it's like, I ain't gonna lie, like the tears wanted to flow because it was such an emotional moment, and it was such a long journey that I had looked back. I said, man, we went through so much, but we made it here. And it is such a blessing because so many others are still fighting. And as this tragedy has come to a triumph for me, DeMarco and the other exonerees here, there are still so many others that are fighting for their lives still inside. And that's why I'm here. Not simply to tell my story or to brag about how I'm free, but I'm here for those that are voiceless. I'm here for those that are still going to miss this Christmas coming up because they may be in there falsely convicted. I'm here for them. That's why I want to share the story. That's why I want people to know what happened. It gets emotional for me, of course. But to share some emotion, to share some feeling, for you to see the truth, everything that those statistics that Eric has put up there for you, to see that in real life. I'm real life, those statistics. I'm here. Every single exoneree here, those are those statistics right there in front of you. It's not just something on paper, it's reality. And so I want people to be aware of these things that could happen and the things that we can do as citizens to make changes and to continue to make changes in the laws and the way things are done as far as convictions go. That's why we're here. And one thing I wanted to really hit on that gave me like a new zest of inspiration. These new laws that have been implemented here in Oklahoma about the interrogation, one of the things that Eric read about earlier. For a lot of people, it's just a new law, that has been added in. This maybe gonna help make some changes, to society, to our state. Like those are just new laws, and they can be positive and affect that. But for me, it's a manifestation. It's fruitation for all those days that we missed inside with our families. When our families are out here and we were inside going through our Christmas. When we were inside going through our Thanksgivings. And I often had asked that question. I would ask, to God, like, why am I having to go through this? Why? What did I do to deserve this? I'm an innocent man. Like, why am I having to deal with this trauma, this horrific situation? And so for many times I asked that, and the long fight that we went through and finally made free, it was like, what do I continue to fight for now that I'm free? That law gave me the answer. For these last 3 years that I've been free and trying to figure out that path that I need to be going to, what I can do to help, give others a chance as well, because I know I wasn't the last one. And I looked at that, and I said, finally, this is why. This is what it was for. For all those lonely nights inside. For that long fight that we went through. For keeping that strong faith in God that he was going to give us a second chance. And never giving up on him. He showed me. You were sent here for a reason, he said to me. You're a vessel. You're going to get the truth out for us. You're going to be one of the ones that help make those changes for the voiceless. I'm making you that instrument for me. To see those laws change, that's major for a whole state. I never thought that I would have that type of a positive effect on the lives and of the citizens of our state and our country. So to see that now for me is like, now I know it was worth it. It was worth it. It felt like so blessed to come from a situation that was hopeless to now a situation where I'm not only influencing myself and those around me, my young family that I try to always encourage and inspire, but now it's raising to a whole state that I'm inspiring to make changes for the better, for our future. Every single one of us, all of us. There's no separations. We are one. And so that's why I say it gave me that new zest of inspiration to continue that fight, continue what we're doing now to make changes for our state, for our country. This is a blessing, and I'm honored to carry it on my shoulders. I'll take it. And I thank you all, every single one of you Rotary members that are taking on this fight as well. So many blessings and so many good things are going to come from all the hard work that we all do together as we continue to move forward in a blessed world. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So that was pretty powerful, huh? Told you, Chuck. We're open for a few questions. If anybody would like to ask, there's a mic in the middle, or.
How do we start a conviction and charity unit here in Tulsa?
It's as simple as the Tulsa County District Attorney starting it. It is just as simple as Kunzweiler and Oklahoma County DA, just starting them. Understanding, honestly, they just need to accept that there was a problem, at least in the past. That's the first thing. There's still not a whole lot of acceptance. There's a lot of doubling down in the face of these statistics, in the face of these judges' rulings.
Yes, wanted to ask for those of us who don't understand, is it a lack of money? Is it a lack of a system literally built against it? How does someone sit in prison for so many years, and 30 years, it's just unfathomable to finally get released after 30 years? What happens that no one hears that story, or no one, I mean, what causes that?
So it's a simple answer of progression. Our times in this country and the way we handled criminal prosecution and sentencing were just harsh for a long time. And that's loosened up through, again, these statistics and other things. But money, resources, frankly, there's a lot of people to blame. It's not just police and prosecutors. I tell that all the time. I am not anti-police ever. I'm not anti. It's also the defense attorneys, and it's also the judges. I mean, that's how it's kind of getting in an intersection and getting T-boned all four ways sometimes. But it boils down to changes need to be made at some point with how post-conviction relief and appeals are looked at. They're just too rubber stamped. And again, that is changing too. Judges and are making more rulings off of allowing the hearings and hearing these cases.
I'm just curious if you can tell, maybe in a really short way, one of these stories, like what was the smoking gun that you found, if there was one, you know, what happened specifically for any one of these stories?
So with Malcolm and DeMarco, the smoking gun was that there was at least one individual who participated in the actual crime, who was man enough to come forward, and then he, of course, pointed out the other two who were actually the perpetrators of the crime, and those two individuals ended up being man enough as well to admit that they committed that crime, and that is the core. If you ask for the smoking gun, well, that's it. There were other witnesses too. That's a smoking gun, but the real problem was the alleged and then ruled upon police coercion of the witnesses to get that falsity rolling in the first place. Anything else? Anybody want a question for Malcolm or Karen?
When this group was incarcerated, did you receive any rehabilitation, education? Was there anything redeeming about that experience? And can you please come back and talk to us about this some more? Anyway, thank you.
Oh, yeah. We'd be glad to come back, right? I mean, absolutely. Betty? What? Yes, please. Would somebody get the mic for Betty, by chance? Oh, right here, Betty, up front. I'm sorry.
As far as rehabilitation, DOC offers none. They say there's no money for rehabilitation. They put us there, they offer education, but that's it. The rest of the time, you're expected to go to your bed. That's it. That's it, because there is no money.
And so, yeah, and to summarize, thank you, Betty. And to summarize what you had asked, no, there's nothing. If it weren't for 501c3s, there'd be absolutely zero upon release. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious what you could teach us about forgiveness. I feel like we will harbor resentment for really unimportant things in our life, and of anyone, you would deserve to harbor that resentment and not forgive. So what could you teach us about forgiveness?
Man, forgiveness, as far as teaching you guys about forgiveness, for me, I think it's that we have to forgive, because to hold those grudges, to hold those ill feelings inside and continue it through life, it's not going to make life better for you at all. And it's only going to hold you back. For me, I decided to leave, that resentment inside where all the madness was at. Like, I'm not going to take that with me. I've been given a second chance at life, so why would I take that anger and pain and frustration home with me? So I'll only continue to feel the same way I was when I was inside. And I've been fighting to get away from that. So why take that with me? I don't want to take my bunk with me. I don't want to take those bars with me. You know what I mean? So why would I take those ill feelings and hurt and pain and anger and resentment with me as well? They're not going to do me any good. That's what I want to get away from. So I chose to take, instead, that joy back from the place that I had came from before I even went to that place. I got back home to my family, and I was blessed with that second chance. I got back home to my loved ones and friends. I got back home to society. I got back home to be able to walk outside each day. I can get in a plane and fly to Oklahoma and see my family and friends when I want to now. Or I can go home and see my beautiful woman waiting for me when I get back. So that's what forgiveness for me is, letting go of any ill will feelings. God is going to take care of that. Any revenge that needs to be seeked. And far as taking revenge and that resentment and taking it and motivating it and using that feeling to do something good, to do something better, to make changes on the things that you would have felt resentment for anyway. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm here right now. You see? So instead of holding the anger and being angry about it, we're going to do something about it instead and make it positive so I don't have to feel anger or resentment because we're seeing the changes that are made for others that they don't have to go through that as well. So that's how I can find a way to let go of that forgiveness and utilize it for motivation for me, for inspiration to continue this fight and make it better so people don't have to feel that pain.
Wow. Oh, one more? Yes.
Just briefly.
Yeah.
Do you turn this on or is it?
It's on.
Thank you. On the forgiveness thing, I was released a year and a half ago after serving 31 years, and that was one of the biggest questions in all of my public speaking is how can I have a smile? How can I be so kind? It's a saying that I have, I'm too grateful to be hateful. If you, wonderful. The main thrust of it is that it's understandable to hate the system. It's understandable to hate the people who have the mindset that some of us don't belong here because of our ethnicity. The fact is, if you start hating those people, those organizations, you actually become what you hate. So forgiveness is the highest quality. To err is human, to forgive is divine. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I love that word picture that you just painted. And Malcolm, thank you for sharing your story, and you're just inspirational, and your mom did a good job. At the young age of 17, she had already instilled all those things in you that kept you fighting that whole time. My dad says to us, you can be bitter or you can be better, but you can't be both. And I see that lived out in you and even the other folks here today. But I love what you said. It just made me think, you guys, how quickly we can harbor, forgive, or we can harbor resentment about the smallest things. And that, what you said about, I don't want to take the cell with me. Wow, what an amazing thought, just to think, anything that we carry in our life. That's just absolutely amazing. And I know really quickly we can say 20 years. That, just kind of rolls off the tongue. Oh, 20 years. But when he mentioned, what are those people doing in prison this Christmas? What were you doing last Christmas? And what were you doing the Christmas before and the Christmas before? And these people knew where they were. And just to be able to release that is just amazing. Thank you so much for being here. And Eric, thank you for the work that you're doing. Thanks for sharing today. Rotarians, you are agents of change. Now go change the world.